Good afternoon, Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. It is Tuesday. It is the recap. I am back in my happy place. Actually, that's a little scary. No, I'm kidding. It's actually just we have our Christmas party tonight, so I figured, might as well act a little festive. And I think traders are definitely a little festive today, considering the type of action that we saw, considering the tactics that I pretty much talk about a lot every day. I think the only thing people are a little upset about is that they didn't go with more positions and they didn't keep it long enough because no one really expected this type of reversal. You never know what you're going to get. Some people actually, put on swing trades where, once we got back above the prior day's low and then just said, I'm going to hold it until and trail it. If you did that, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Today, if you've said, I'm going to, buy versus the first 15 to 60 minute low and then add to it if the red dog reversal turns on where we reclaim prior lows, into the end of the day, you had a hell of a day. But again, no one's perfect and not everyone's going to do things like that. But I think all in all, lots of good optimism out there. My glass half full mantra told or put out there this morning with my charts of the Qs and with the spiders or the SPX was, after yesterday's down move into this morning's gap down, I would think you'd want to at least cover half your options or half your shorts if you're short, if not all of them, and test longs. And then see what happens. See if anything goes green, see if there's any leadership, see if any red dog reversals happen, see if there's any day ones. And throughout the course of the day, they started popping up all over the place. So let me just go to the charts. First things first, here's the spiders or the SPX. Yesterday, if you sold when we broke the 8-day, you were thinking clearly and you had nothing on into what was a nice tradable bounce as we went below the 21-day and reclaimed it, or if you targeted that 2040 area, I think we were talking 2040 to 2048, closed at 2059. Does that mean we're going to be back in new highs over the course of the next few sessions? Who knows? All I know is it was a good trade, and if you're trailing some, that's fine. Okay, you now have this kind of upper channel here, but all I know is that the bears did not have much control. They would never have let this happen if they had the power that every top caller / crash caller says they have. Anyway, the 8-day is right here. It's about 7-8 handles higher. If the bears want to do something to have any kind of hope that they don't just get taken to the cleaners again, they reject price here. And if you happen to have taken your longs for a swing trade overnight, if we open up 5-6 handles, you know what? You sell some into that. If you open up down 5-6 handles, maybe you buy some strong stocks from today, and if we go above today's high, you add and then you get that move. So all in all, lots to do tomorrow, lots of ways to skin a cat. You look at the Qs, really nice day. This sliced through the 8-day yesterday, and if you went out short, you got paid. If you went out flat, you had a nice even keel demeanor to perhaps buy once we went back above this 104.07 or reclaimed the 21-day here, which was a little bit lower, and then we closed right back into resistance. So now, this looks as if, again, if the bears had control, they would not have left this. They would not have let this kind of power take place. It probably would have been, a little bit of a snapback and go sideways and roll over. This was pretty powerful, and within that, a lot of the high beta names that have been definitely broken, that have been battered and bruised, that have been out of play. They actually, which you probably shouldn't have been in, I don't think anyone was. If anything, anyone was probably short overnight, and maybe that was the capitulation type move because you saw a lot of day one trades. They were the first to go green. So maybe we get day 2, day 3. We shall see. What I targeted was Apple. Apple gave you a really nice trade. If you sold it when it broke the 8-day right there, okay, or maybe missed that sell, sold it when you had the red dog reversal right here, okay, you then had a free mind to think about perhaps buying it into this this prior breakout, which was anticipating, anyone who was on the VTF, which I believe is a very viable tool for guys that trade all day long. Like, Red Dog, what's your plan today? I'm like, my plan is to put orders in my swing account from 110 down to 108 because I'm not going to be able to be fast enough to trade my active account, trade my swing account, tweet. Just can't happen in a fast tape like that, especially when you're trying to figure things out. So they were able to see me get long Apple once we broke 110. And then on the radio, I was talking about, okay, now I'm adding, now I'm taking off, now I'm adding, now I'm taking off, and I pretty much stayed with that trade all the way to about 113.30-ish, and I tweeted that. I also tweeted probably around 10 o'clock saying I'm long Apple and BABA, and that was when both we're up off the lows, but just starting to trigger the red dog reversal, and still down about $1 and change off the day. So if you got long on those tweets, you still had rooms to make money, but you didn't get the first-hand information of the VTF. So I'm just showing you how there is more of a picture here for you to, to get. And the VTF connects all those dots. And I'm not going to sell anything anymore. People ask me, what's the VTF? How do, why don't, it's after the fact. Okay, I'm a real trader from 9:30 to 10. Hard to do a gazillion things. That's why we have a radio, so I could talk on the radio while I'm typing and trading, because I'm not a computer. I'm not an algo. I actually have fingertips, and that's how we execute our orders. But anyway, you go back to Apple, and if you anticipated that trade, you had a good long, and then there was another entry when it reclaimed this prior level here, which was right around 112.40, or sorry, my mouse is having a little problems again. All right, hold on, I'll just move it over a little bit. Okay, so then when it reclaimed this 112.40, it got a little bit, got more momentum. That's when the shorts probably said, okay, it's done. And now, you probably draw a little wedge like this to see what the bigger picture is here. So if you're taking some overnight, I would just have taken small, considering the size of the range that happened here. But definitely the right trade is to repair this chart a little bit. Maybe you get a trade into 115 tomorrow before it needs to go sideways and prove that this downtrend could be broken. If you're a swing trader, some people are like, okay, I got a great entry at 112. I don't care, I'm not out unless it breaks this low. If you're an active trader, hopefully you're using a tier system and you didn't go home with as many shares as you had intraday, but you kept a third, because if it opens lower, perhaps we buy it to go from red to green, trades above today's high tomorrow, maybe you get a push into the moving averages, which are closer to about 115. BABA also, we were focusing on that. That was Sperling's focus. I traded it here and there. I probably would have done better just buying it when it hit my levels and just getting my hands off it. But anyway, this was the prior breakout, which I talked about also. And look how symmetrical sometimes these things get. Okay, and that's technical analysis. It's trying to paint a pretty picture of symmetry. And look at that. And if you didn't want to buy it in the hole and you wanted to wait for it to reclaim this 103, 104 area, you were still able to make money. And now we're back to where this downtrend comes into play. Maybe we get a few inside days before that happens, but I still think at some point it's going to break this, and I do not think that this is BABA's historic highs. I don't care who is ranting about it and calling it Alibaba and the 40 Thieves or whatever they're doing out there. I think this still has a lot of potential, but it's still in this corrective phase. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, if you had a lot of size or a tier 2 at some point, you're only taking home small, just in case we open down and it has to pack and fill a little bit, and then we'll figure out if it holds higher. But that also, looks good. Amazon was the first to go green. Still, I would say it's not a leading stock, not a constructive stock ready to break out the highs. But after a move from here, if you happen to get stopped out when this trend broke today, it went green first. So if you use relative strength rules, it was something to do. Okay, this was the prior low of 304. It went to 312. So that's what is that, 6-7 points higher. So that could have been a nice trade. I don't think it just blasts off, but we are traders. You could take nice trades, and then there's another pivot here. So maybe at some point it goes sideways a little bit, pops back up into these moving average just for a trade from the range. Anyway, Google did the same type of thing. I didn't touch Google, but it gave you its first engulfing type move where it was negative, went red to green, traded above the prior two pivots, and it's a start. I don't know what it's going to lead to, and I'm not in this one. I don't, just my history lately since this whole downtrend has not been good, so I avoided it. But all in all, it's still below all the moving averages. It's not, a momentum leader to just close your eyes and buy, but, you have a little bit of a potential start on this day one, and if you sold at the end of the day, all you had is a good day trade, cash flow. That's it. That's what we do. You're allowed to make cash flow. You don't always have to sit in things for multiple days. Netflix, I think, did the same thing too. Look at that, day one reversal into this prior. This is what happens with a red dog reversal. People think, oh my goodness, it's going to break below this prior pivot. It could go a lot lower, and then it reverses up, and it could have, but it didn't. So once it came back above this 331, you could have covered, or you could have waited for it to come back above this pivot right here, and this pivot was 338, and then it closed at 343. Still nothing, guys. It's just a potential double bottom and a potential, and just a trade, just a range trade. Okay, not everything's going to be a blockbuster, but it doesn't have to be. You know, we don't talk in blockbusters. We talk in cash flow and trades. And as of right now, here is a little bit of a day one, a little out of the danger zone, and we'll see what happens next. Same thing for Tesla. You know, I think Sperling chose Tesla today, not because he thinks it's going to make new 52-week highs, but it was just oversold. Okay, and you know, yes, it's been on off the charts. I don't know if Evan covered his last piece in it and sent out an evil or whatever it's called, a push button. But today, if you wanted to trade a broken stock that was oversold, you got it here. And you know, if you were short and you said, okay, it's very oversold, it's extended below the moving average, the same thing, it's hard to buy things extended above, you covered, and then, you know what, put some out here. If it bounces back and, you know, gets to, you know, 226 or so, maybe that's where you short some more, or if it gets to even a little bit higher, then you try that. But that's how you trade and maneuver these ranges. Let's see what Facebook did. Facebook actually, you know, something I'm long Facebook, Apple, and Bob overnight, by the way. You know, Facebook still, you know, this is above the moving averages. It's more constructive. You know, it wasn't the first to go up, but has a little bit more of a constructive pattern considering it's above the moving averages. It's very close to the highs of the year. Not sure what it's going to take to get a little momentum, but this is definitely a start. You know, on the flip side, Twitter, different picture, but a decent trade for some people today. I think it went green first, so people, you know, could have went with it just for that. But again, just a trade, just a day one, doesn't mean it's going to fill this gap and go to highs and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But perhaps it could bounce back to the moving average, and then you buy it here, sell it there. Cover here, maybe short there, unless it takes it back and shows something different. Just these are the ways you have to navigate, especially during a holiday season and during Christmas time. Not everything needs to be held for 2, 5, 3 weeks or 2 days. You know, it could be just trades. And if you have the right tactics using pivots, you use a pivot because a pivot to me is an important level. That's going to be a fight between longs and shorts. And once you're on the right side of that fight, you get a clean, cool move or a quick move. You take some and then you trail some. So something else today, the banks. I did not touch the banks today, but I got to say, pretty impressive. I thought they were in a little bit of trouble. They definitely broke levels that, you know, I wouldn't have thought would have bounced back from. But came into the 21-day, Bank of America held. It's probably going to need some time. Goldman Sachs, what a monster. You know, this is right back to highs. You know, I went over support 1, support 2 this morning. Support 1, support 2, and it held support 2, and now you have a bull flag here where it looks like it could take that out. So it's flexing its leadership muscles. Morgan Stanley, look at that, right back to highs after a 4 or 5 day move. So these banks are still strong. I should be in some banks. I'm sorry that I'm not. But maybe tomorrow, if we open down a little bit, we'll see. But again, I've tried to simplify it. These banks, you know, are a place where everyone's talking about. But then you have banks going up because they think rates are rising, but bonds don't think so. You know, TLTs, you know, you had a nice gap up here after a move yesterday. So, you know, why not sell some of that also? You know, look how extended it is from the 8 day. Same way some of the shorts were extended below. Still healthy, still above all the averages, but from where it was at 120 to 124, you know, a little bit of profit taking, especially when the market reversed. So now see what happens here. You know, see if it holds the 8 day again, and see what type of action is there. I have nothing to do with that right now. GLD, you know, hit the. Remember we talked about it that it can get to 119. Well, got to 119 and closed off highs. Nice gap and go, even though it, you know, it closed off highs when the market started to reverse. Maybe trade the GLDs versus, you know, this gap and see if it builds. And there's just a lot of resistance in front of it. But overall, it's been stair-stepping higher in a way that I just didn't, you know, I'm just not interested in. Close on the lows, gap up, and go and squeeze everyone. Close on the lows, squeeze through, gap up. It's just not the way I operate. Every time close on highs, open down, close normal, open down. Random, erratic, and things that are out of your control that happen overnight, and that's not the way, you know, I operate. It's not part of my process. Same way I don't take stock into earnings. I take options because risk is premium paid. Major events, I don't just flip a coin to figure out which way it's going to go. Then I'll do options as well. You know, intraday trading or swings or just market action. That, you know, that I'll contend with and that I'll grapple with every day of the week. But anything that's, you know, a hyper focus, it's an event, why not take options so at least your risk is premium paid versus potentially blowing up your account. You know, we always like to live to fight another day, and if you're wrong, you always want to be honest, accountable, and just get out of the way and then figure out what's next with a clear head. So all in all, very impressive bounce back today. You know, a lot of nice targeted longs. I think the VTF was high-fiving today. I know, you know, traders hopefully are in a good mood going into the Christmas party. Tomorrow, I have a feeling I'm going to have some red eyes and might not be as peppy. So just deal with it. It's you know, it's life. Life happens. Hopefully, you're enjoying yours, because if you're not, you got to make some changes, because life's a little too short and you're dead way too long. Have a good night.